Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's story is about something most people never think about, something invisible, yet absolutely real. We're talking about the moment of death, and who stands guard when your final breath arrives. If you've been following these stories, you already know that Padre Pio saw what ordinary people can't see. Angels, demons, souls moving between worlds. But among all the things he witnessed, few things moved him as deeply as seeing an angel refuse to leave a dying sinner's side. He once said, "No soul dies alone. Your guardian angel is there, waiting, fighting, hoping, even if you've forgotten him for a lifetime." It was one of those teachings people heard and nodded at, until they saw how seriously Padre Pio lived it. He spoke to angels like they were standing right beside him, and in his final moments, those who were with him saw something that confirmed everything he taught. He wasn't alone either. Padre Pio once said, "Every person, from the moment of their creation, is given a guardian angel who never leaves their side, not even for an instant." He wasn't repeating doctrine he'd read in a book. He was describing what he experienced every day of his life. The friars who lived with him testified to something extraordinary. They often saw Padre Pio speaking softly to someone they couldn't see, pausing as if listening to a response, then nodding with a gentle smile. When asked, he would say simply, "I was speaking with my angel." He had given his guardian angel a name and spoke to him the way you'd speak to a close friend. He asked for help with small things, finding lost items, protecting someone in danger, calming his own fears. But more than anything, Padre Pio said, his angel guided him in understanding the souls who came to him for confession. He believed the angel whispered insights into hearts he otherwise couldn't have known. Throughout his life, Padre Pio taught that angels are not distant, decorative figures in paintings. They are real, present, and deeply involved in our lives. He explained that guardian angels are assigned to each soul at the moment of conception and remain with that soul until it reaches its final destination, heaven, purgatory, or hell. They cannot force us to choose good, but they can guide, protect, and intercede. Padre Pio said the angel's work becomes most intense at the moment of death. That's when the soul is most vulnerable, most confused, most afraid. The devil fights hardest in those final moments, whispering despair, dredging up every sin, trying to convince the soul that mercy is impossible. And standing against that darkness is the guardian angel, who has loved that soul since before it took its first breath. He once told his spiritual children, "Your angel has been with you through every joy and every sin. He has wept when you turned away from God and rejoiced when you returned. And when your final breath comes, he will be the one standing closest, waiting to bring you home." But the real mystery began one evening in the confessional, when Padre Pio saw something that left even the most skeptical friars shaken. It was late in the evening, and Padre Pio was hearing confessions in the small wooden booth at the friary. The penitent on the other side was an elderly man, his voice weak and trembling. He had come from the hospital, carried by family members, because he knew his time was short. He wanted to confess his sins one final time before he died. Padre Pio listened quietly, as he always did, but suddenly, in the middle of the man's confession, he stopped responding. His face changed, his eyes fixed on the corner of the confessional booth, staring at something the old man couldn't see. The penitent noticed the silence and hesitated, uncertain whether to continue. After a long pause, Padre Pio whispered, "Your guardian is here." The man didn't understand. "Father, what do you mean?" Padre Pio's voice was soft, almost reverent. "Your angel, he is standing behind you. He has been waiting for this moment." According to the friars who spoke with the penitent afterward, the man began to weep. Padre Pio described what he saw, a figure clothed in light, towering and radiant, standing directly behind the old man with one hand resting gently on his shoulder. The angel's face, Padre Pio said, was filled with both sorrow and hope. Sorrow for the years the man had wandered far from God, and hope because he had finally returned. But there was something else. The angel's other hand was raised not in blessing, but as if holding something back. Padre Pio saw shadows pressing close, trying to reach the man, whispering accusations and despair. The angel stood between them, a wall of light that the darkness could not cross. Padre Pio leaned closer to the screen and said quietly, "He has been waiting for you to come back. He never left, even when you forgot him." The man completed his confession through tears. Padre Pio gave him absolution, and the old man left the booth leaning on his family, his face peaceful for the first time in years. He died 3 days later. Afterward, Padre Pio told the friars something they would never forget. The angel wept with joy when the man's sins were forgiven. He had been fighting for that soul for decades, and tonight the battle finally turned. There was another moment that revealed even more about what angels do at the moment of death. A family came to Padre Pio in desperation. Their father was dying in the hospital, and he had refused to see a priest. The man had lived a hard life, full of bitterness and anger. For decades, he had mocked faith, cursed God, and pushed away anyone who tried to speak to him about his soul. Now, as he lay dying, he was still defiant. The family begged Padre Pio to come. They feared their father would die unrepentant, lost forever. Padre Pio agreed, though he warned them gently, "I can go to him, but only he can open the door." When Padre Pio entered the hospital room, the man was awake but weak. He glared at the priest and muttered bitterly, "Get out. I don't want your prayers." But Padre Pio didn't leave. According to the family members who were present, his face suddenly grew pale, his eyes fixed on the corner of the room, just above the dying man's bed. He stood very still, as if witnessing something invisible to everyone else. The man noticed and snapped, "What are you staring at?" Padre Pio didn't answer immediately. He later told the family what he saw. The man's guardian angel, standing beside the bed, radiant and sorrowful, holding a sword of light raised high. And pressing close around the bed were shadows, dark, formless shapes that whispered lies into the man's ears. They hissed accusations, reminding him of every sin, every failure, every reason to despair. The angel stood between the man and the darkness, the sword blazing, keeping the shadows just far enough away that the man still had the freedom to choose. Padre Pio began to pray silently, asking the angel for help. He asked Mary to intercede, and then something shifted. The dying man suddenly stopped speaking. His eyes widened, and he stared at the same corner Padre Pio had been watching. His voice, which had been sharp and angry, became a whisper. "Who is that standing there?" Padre Pio answered softly, "Your protector. He has never left you, even when you cursed God. Even now he is fighting for you." The man's face crumpled. Tears filled his eyes. In a voice so quiet the family could barely hear, he said, "I see him. He's crying." Padre Pio nodded. "He has been crying for you for 50 years. The man wept. He asked for confession. Padre Pio heard his sins, gave him absolution, and the man died peacefully a few hours later. When the family asked Padre Pio what had happened, he said simply, "The angel held the darkness back just long enough for him to say yes." Padre Pio often explained how this spiritual battle works. He said that angels cannot force a soul to repent. Free will is sacred, even at the moment of death. The angel can guide, protect, and plead, but it cannot make the choice for us. That decision belongs to the soul alone. But Padre Pio also taught that prayers from others give the angel more power to intervene. He explained it this way. When someone prays for a dying person, that prayer becomes like a weapon in the angel's hand. It doesn't remove free will, but it clears away some of the fog, some of the fear, some of the lies that the devil uses to paralyze a soul in its final moments. He used a simple metaphor. Angels are like firefighters standing outside a burning house, he said. They cannot break down the door. But confession, prayer, the sacraments, these are like unlocking the door from the inside. Once it's open, the angel can rush in and carry the soul to safety. Padre Pio believed deeply in the power of the sacrament of reconciliation at the hour of death. He said that confession doesn't just forgive sins, it transforms the spiritual atmosphere around a dying person. The moment absolution is given, he said, the angel's light becomes stronger, brighter, almost blinding to the forces of darkness. There was a story he told about a woman who had been praying for her estranged father for years. The man had abandoned the family, lived in sin, and refused all contact with the church. When he was dying, the woman came to Padre Pio and asked him to pray. Padre Pio said yes, and he asked her to continue praying as well. Days later, the woman received word that her father had asked for a priest in his final hours and died reconciled with God. When she returned to thank Padre Pio, he told her something that stunned her. He said, "I saw your father's guardian angel. When your prayers reached heaven, the angel doubled in light. That light is what finally broke through." Padre Pio insisted that even one sincere prayer for the dying gives their guardian angel more strength to fight. He said the prayers don't go to waste. They accumulate, like drops of water filling a vessel, until the moment comes when the soul is ready to receive them. But the most powerful proof of this came in the moments Padre Pio witnessed angels at the exact instant of death, when the soul leaves the body and eternity begins. One of the most dramatic moments Padre Pio ever described happened in a prison. The chaplain had called him in desperation. A man was dying, a violent criminal who had spent decades hardened by sin. He had never gone to confession, never prayed, never shown a hint of remorse. The chaplain feared the man's soul was lost. When Padre Pio arrived at the cell, the man was barely conscious, his breathing labored and weak. He opened his eyes briefly, saw the priest, and muttered with contempt, "Too late, leave me alone." But Padre Pio didn't leave. According to the chaplain who witnessed it, Padre Pio's face went pale. He stared at the corner of the cell, his eyes wide, as if watching something unfold that no one else could see. Later, Padre Pio described what he saw. The man's guardian angel was standing beside the bed, but the angel looked bound, wrapped in invisible chains, unable to move freely. The chains, Padre Pio said, were the man's sins, his refusal, his decades of turning away from God. The angel's face was filled with sorrow, tears streaming down in light, and surrounding the bed were darker presences, formless shadows that pressed close, whispering lies into the dying man's mind. They reminded him of every crime, every cruelty, every reason to despair. They hissed that it was too late, that mercy was impossible, that God had abandoned him. One of the shadows leaned close to the man's ear, almost gloating, as if the soul was already claimed. Padre Pio began to pray. He whispered a Hail Mary, then another, asking Our Lady to intercede. He begged the angel for help, and then something shifted. The man suddenly gasped. His eyes opened wide, and he stared at the ceiling above him, as if seeing something for the first time. His voice, which had been bitter and mocking, became a whisper. "I see him. He's crying." Padre Pio leaned closer. "Who do you see?" The man's lips trembled. "The one standing there. He's crying for me." Padre Pio said gently, "That is your guardian angel. He has been crying for you for 50 years. The man began to weep. In that moment, Padre Pio saw the chains fall from the angel. They shattered like glass, disappearing into light. The angel stepped forward, raising its hand, and the dark shadows fled, unable to remain in the angel's presence. The man, broken and trembling, asked for confession. Padre Pio heard his sins. Decades of violence, hatred, and bitterness poured out in a few desperate minutes. He gave absolution. The man died less than an hour later, his face peaceful. Afterward, Padre Pio told the chaplain, "The angel won by one breath. One single yes." Padre Pio said that angels sometimes wait an entire lifetime for just one moment of openness. And when that moment finally comes, they move faster than light. He believed angels experience time differently than we do. To us, 50 years feels like a lifetime. To an angel, he said, it's like a single breath. They can hold every prayer ever offered for a soul and wait patiently for the exact instant when that soul is ready to receive them. Padre Pio explained it this way: an angel can take 50 years of a mother's prayers and place them into one heartbeat. He said, angels don't forget. They gather every Hail Mary, every plea, every act of love offered for the person they're guarding, and they hold those prayers like treasures, waiting for the moment when mercy can break through. There was a story that showed this clearly. A young woman was in a car accident. She was dying, unconscious, and doctors said she had only minutes left. Her family was devastated. They called for a priest, but the hospital was far from the nearest church, and it seemed impossible that anyone could arrive in time. Padre Pio was praying in the friary when he suddenly stopped mid-rosary. A friar saw him grow pale, his hand pressed against his chest, as if feeling something invisible. The friar asked what was happening. Padre Pio said quietly, "An angel is holding a heartbeat." He explained that he could see the young woman's guardian angel standing beside her in the hospital. The angel had its hand over her heart, physically holding it in rhythm, keeping her alive, even though her body was ready to fail. The angel was waiting, not for the woman to wake, but for something else. 30 seconds later, a priest arrived. He had been driving nearby and felt an unexplainable urgency to go to the hospital. He gave the woman absolution, even though she was unconscious. The moment the sacrament was complete, the angel released her heart. She died peacefully. Padre Pio said afterward, "The angel delayed her death so the sacrament could reach her. That's how much God wants us to come home." He taught that angels can bend the laws of time and nature when mercy requires it. They can stretch seconds into lifetimes if it means one more soul can be saved. Padre Pio said, "Time obeys grace, and angels obey love." This understanding changed how Padre Pio prayed for the dying. He knew that even when someone seemed beyond hope, their angel was still fighting, and one prayer could tip the balance. One morning, a friar entered the chapel at the friary and found Padre Pio standing completely still before the altar. His eyes were open, but he wasn't looking at anything in the room. Tears streamed down his face. His rosary hung loose in his hand, as if he had forgotten he was holding it. The friar approached quietly and whispered, "Father, are you all right?" Padre Pio didn't respond immediately. He stood in silence for another moment, then finally turned to the friar with a look of overwhelming joy. "Do not disturb them," he said softly. "They are rising." The friar didn't understand. "Who, Father?" Padre Pio gestured toward the empty air in front of him. "The souls. I can see them." According to the friar's testimony, Padre Pio described a vision he was witnessing at that very moment. He saw souls ascending from earth, rising like sparks of light through a veil of mist. Some moved slowly, cautiously, as if still uncertain. Others rose quickly, pulled upward by something invisible but undeniable. And beside each soul was a radiant figure, a guardian angel, holding the soul's hand, guiding it upward toward heaven. Padre Pio said the angels were singing, not with voices but with light that felt like music. Some of the angels were silent, their faces filled with quiet joy. Others seemed to glow brighter, as if their happiness was too great to contain. The friar asked, "Do you recognize any of them?" Padre Pio nodded, still weeping. "Yes, people I confessed, people I prayed for, some I barely knew, but heaven remembers." He explained that the angels didn't leave the souls at the gates of heaven. They stayed with them, presenting them personally to Christ, like a parent introducing a child they had protected and loved for a lifetime. Padre Pio whispered, "The angels are so happy. They have been waiting for this moment since before those souls were born." After the vision faded, Padre Pio sat down, still trembling. The friar asked him what it all meant. Padre Pio said simply, "This is why we must honor our guardian angels now, while we live. They are with us every moment, watching, protecting, praying for the day they can bring us home." From that day forward, Padre Pio spoke even more often about the importance of praying to your guardian angel. He told his spiritual children, "Your angel knows you better than you know yourself. Talk to it, ask for help, thank it." He said the relationship between a soul and its angel was meant to be personal, intimate, like a friendship that begins at birth and never ends. Padre Pio lived every day with this awareness. He never forgot that his guardian angel was standing beside him, watching, helping, praying. And when his own final breath came, those who were with him saw something that confirmed everything he had taught. On September 23, 1968, Padre Pio's final hours arrived. He was in his small cell at the friary, surrounded by the friars who had cared for him. His breathing was labored, his body weak after years of suffering and service. But even in that weakness, he was not alone. The friars noticed that Padre Pio's eyes were fixed on the corner of the room. His face, though pale and tired, held a faint smile. One of the friars leaned close and asked gently, "Father, do you see something?" Padre Pio nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "My angel, he is here." The friar asked, "Is he coming to take you home?" Padre Pio's smile deepened. "He never left. He's just closer now." In his final moments, Padre Pio whispered prayers to Mary, his voice so soft the friars had to lean in to hear. And then, with his last strength, he spoke to his guardian angel. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you." The friars who were present reported that the room filled with an inexplicable peace. Some said they noticed a faint scent of flowers, though there were none in the cell. One friar later testified that he saw a brief flash of light near Padre Pio's head at the exact moment he took his final breath, though he could never explain what it was. Years before, Padre Pio had told his spiritual children, "When I die, I will finally see the face I have loved in faith my whole life, my angel's face," and those who were with him believed he did. Padre Pio taught that death is not an ending. It is the moment your angel has been preparing for since the day you were born. It is the moment when the invisible guardian who never left your side finally steps into the light, takes your hand, and brings you home. In his last breath, he saw what he had always known was there. An angel who never left, an angel who never stopped fighting, an angel who carried him home,